we return to our study of the mystical and mythical Talmudic teachings. And we have the teaching of, this is Daf Vav Amud Beis, Brachos 6b. Amar Ravin Barav Ada, Amar Rav Yitzchak. Minayin sha'akadosh baruch hu maniach tefillin. How do we know that God puts on tefillin? Shenemar nishba Hashem biyamino uvizroa uzo. God swears with his right hand and with his arm of might, referring to the left. Ein yamino el Torah. The right refers to the Torah. Shenemar miyamino eish daslomo. Vein uzo el tefillin. And his strength refers to the tefillin. Shenemar Hashem oz le'amo yitain. God gives might to his nature, to his people. Well, it seems at first to refer to the fact that the tefillin, that the right hand is the tefillin, the right hand is the Torah, the left hand is the tefillin, which we put on our left hand. Continues, Minayin sheha tefillin oz heim li Yisrael. How do we know that the tefillin are the Jews, are the strength of the Jewish people? All the nations of the world will see that the name of God is called upon you and they will respect you. And Rabbi Eliezer Agadol says, it was taught that this refers to the tefillin, the head tefillin. Okay.
This is I saw it. It's like when you go on the milchama.
I followed the same thought process of you. Yeah, I follow the same thought process of you, and we'll follow this a little bit. Let's see how it goes. Amar le Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak le Rav Chia bar Ovin. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says to Rav Chia bar Ovin, Hani tefillin demari alma maksiv behu, the tefillin of the Master of the Universe. What is written in them? The tefillin are, of course, a box that contains a scroll. It's a leather box that contains a scroll. So in our tefillin, there are 4 parshios, there are 4 paragraphs. Our tefillin says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Rab Chia bar Oven is asked, what does God's tefillin say? And he answers, Amar le umi ka'amcha Yisrael goy echad. Who is like your nation Israel, one nation. And so our tefillin indicates Hashem echad, and God's tefillin indicates goy echad. Umi mishabeach kutshabrichu b'shivchayhu di Yisrael. Does God praise himself with the praise of the Jewish people? Yes, T'chsiv as Hashem ha'amarto hayom ba'Hashem ha'mircha hayom. You have made me one in the world, and I have make you one in the world. So let's understand what this means. First of all, what does it mean that Hashem puts on tefillin? Of course, Hashem doesn't have a physical form. Hashem doesn't put on tefillin. Let's just get that out of the way. Obviously, Hashem doesn't put on tefillin. But let's talk in a more broad sense. What does it mean? What does our tefillin mean? What does it mean that we put on tefillin? And what might it mean when we say that Hashem also engages in that same intention, in that same, perhaps our tefillin is symbolic of something, and Hashem's tefillin is real. Hashem's tefillin might even be more real than ours. So our tefillin is symbolic of the fact that we are making a relationship with God. It kind of symbolizes the placing of our purpose onto our physical form. But, right, so we put the tefillin on our arm as though to say the things that I do should be directed to Hashem. And the tefillin on our head, the thoughts on my mind should be directed toward Hashem. All of my human accomplishments should be always focused on connecting with Hashem. But on a much more stepping out to the conceptual for a moment, there's a fundamental difference between the gods created by man and when people worship Hashem. When people create their own gods and worship them, it's the worst, because they call it worship and it has the pretension of worship, but it's actually worship of the self. So Mela, a person is selfish. Okay, people are selfish. It's natural to be selfish. But to worship yourself, that's corruption to the utmost. So the Tefillin says that I am not worshiping my own heart. I am showing that my heart and my mind should be oriented to service, to serve that which is outside of me. And the thing about that is that in order to have a relationship, in order to be of service, that isn't something that I can control. It's something that I need to be granted and gifted by Hashem. You can't marry somebody just because you want to. That person has to embrace you and has to open themselves up to you. In fact, we put the tefillin around our finger, we say ve'erastich. Some have the custom to say ve'erastich li le'olam, I betroth you to me for eternity. We recall the words that Hashem says, I betroth you, and we put on the tefillin on our finger as though to say that we are responding to Hashem in that same way. So the key here is that when we put on tefillin, we're saying, this represents a relationship with Hashem, and I'm directing everything that I have to Hashem, not just conceptually, but also because Hashem relates to me. Hashem declares me, Ke'amcha Yisrael Goy Echad Ba'aretz. God has given me the opportunity and says, you declare my oneness and I declare your oneness. And so this is really, in a sense, I want to call it a two-way street, but it's a way of expressing that Hashem is reaching out to us with the same kind of is reaching out to us with a relationality, in a relational way, which makes it possible for us to serve Him. Then we go on to the larger point, which is the fact that he refers to Goy Echad Ba'aretz, praising the Jewish people. And really, it might be said that this is also, in general, sort of the whole idea of creation is in order to make possible, right, the creation of people at all makes possible our ability to relate to Him. And then within creation, if we go back to the first pasuk, there are two ways in which we relate to Hashem, or in which we manifest and embody, in which we bring out the fact that we have a relationship with Hashem. One is Mino Eish Daslama, one is the Torah, and the other is the Tefillin. The Torah is having a relationship with Hashem in theory. A person, it's very powerful though, that we can take divine teaching, God's will, and put that into human language. Represents the pinnacle of creation. It represents that relationship that is made possible through creation. That people connect with Hashem's mind and Hashem's will, so to speak. But then there is an even deeper way, which is symbolized in the Tefillin through when we engage in the actions of Torah and the actions of mitzvos, we are actually bringing God's teaching into the world. I would actually say that in a sense, the Tefillin is symbolic of what the Torah is doing, right? The Tefillin is symbolic of that. That's why the Tefillin on the left, the Torah on the right. The Torah is the stronger way of doing that. The Tefillin Shebarosh, the Tefillin in the head. that it's that we are when we learn Torah again, bringing the idea is not just to have the concepts of Torah in our mind, but actually to bring the divine into the human world. That is the tefillin. That's the chativa achas. That's the nation of oneness. We say Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and God says that's exactly what I meant. That people would say Hashem Echad, and that makes us Goy Echad, and that's the relationship that we have. So the tefillin say Hashem, that Hashem is one, and God's tefillin, in which He relates to us, makes it possible for us to relate to Him, says that we are one.